conquer the modern mind with ancient stillness, Zanshin flow. In an age where the mind fractures under noise, where every breath competes with 1,000 unseen demands, a quiet truth waits beneath the chaos, untouched, unmoved, ancient. They called it Zanshin, the lingering spirit, the warrior's awareness, the monk's presence, the human being's forgotten birthright. Most people today are not defeated by enemies, but by their own thoughts, by fear that coils around the spine, by ego that demands constant applause, by distraction that slices attention into dust. But long before screens and schedules, a different kind of human walked the earth. A person who understood silence as strength, discipline as liberation, and presence as the first step toward mastery. This is the story of one such seeker, a young man pulled between the chaos of the modern world and the clarity of an ancient path. A man who meets a mentor hidden in the mountains, who learns that the greatest battles are never fought with fists, but with the trembling, restless mind within. This is a journey into stillness, into warrior spirit, into the ancient system that tames fear, dissolves ego, and transforms the ordinary into something unbreakable. This is the Zanshin flow, and it begins in silence. Chapter 1, The Mind That Runs Without You. The city always moved faster than Ren could breathe. Morning began not with sunlight, but with alarms, harsh, metallic, invasive. Notifications scattered across his phone like shrapnel from a battlefield he never agreed to fight in. His eyes opened before his mind did, his body rising automatically like a soldier conditioned for a war he didn't understand. Outside, the skyline vibrated with tension. Neon signs flickered like restless thoughts. Engines hummed like anxious hearts. People walked quickly, but their minds ran even faster. Ren was no different. Every day he sprinted. Meetings stacked upon tasks, tasks stacked upon worries, and worries multiplied until they formed a net that tightened around his chest. His breath was shallow, his shoulders slightly raised, his posture always leaning forward as if trying to catch up to a life that kept outrunning him. But the most dangerous enemy was the one inside. Ren's mind didn't stop, not when he ate, not when he walked, not even when he tried to sleep. Thoughts ricocheted like arrows. What if I fail? What if I'm behind? What if I'm not enough? Fear rarely appeared as panic. Instead, it hid inside ambition, anxiety, and comparison, a quiet erosion of spirit. At night, he lay in his apartment staring at the ceiling. The room was silent, but his mind was not. It was a storm without thunder, invisible, relentless. Ren tried meditation apps, productivity systems, caffeine, less caffeine, motivational videos, but nothing lasted. The noise always returned, stronger, faster, more demanding. One evening, he experienced what modern psychologists call a micro-collapse. Not a full breakdown, but a hidden one, the moment the mind becomes too tired to pretend. Ren sat at his desk, hands trembling slightly, vision blurred. He whispered to himself, "I can't keep doing this." And something within him, something ancient, something instinctual, whispered back, then stopped running. He blinked, startled by the clarity of that inner voice. Searching for comfort, he grabbed an old book from a secondhand shop. A book he had bought years ago because he liked the faded cover. He had never opened it. Tonight he did. The pages smelled of dust and forgotten time. Near the beginning, he found a single line underlined by a previous owner. Zanshin, the remaining mind. the mind that stays even after the arrow has been released. Ren read the sentence again and again. In those words, he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Stillness, not silence, but presence, a moment of awareness so sharp it cut through the fog. The book explained that Zanshin wasn't about combat, it was about life. It was the ability to stay awake, to remain aware, to allow the mind to exist without running uncontrolled. Warriors practiced it with arrows. Monks practiced it with breath. Humans practiced it with living. Ren closed the book slowly. For the first time in a long time, he didn't feel chased. The next day, he searched online for the origins of the term. Buried inside a forum, he found a rumor, a story about a reclusive Zen swordsman living in a remote mountain village, a man who still taught the ancient disciplines not for combat but for mastery of the modern mind. The idea felt impossible, unrealistic, irrational. But Ren's spirit stirred. Something deep within him said, "Go." And for the first time in years, he listened. By the following morning, Ren had packed a small bag, left a note on his desk, and stepped outside into the cold dawn air. Not to escape life, but to understand it. He didn't know what he would find in the mountains, only that he needed to walk towards silence before it was too late. Chapter 2: The Mountain of Silence. The road to the mountains was not smooth. It curled like an old dragon's spine, steep, unpredictable, unforgiving. Ren traveled by bus first, then by a rusted local truck, and finally on foot. The higher he climbed, the more the modern world dissolved behind him. Cell signal faded. The noise of engines vanished. The sky expanded into a vast plain of blue silence. For the first time in years, Ren heard nothing. But silence, as he would soon learn, was not gentle. It uncovered everything he had tried to bury. Thoughts surged upward like stones rising from a drained riverbed. Worries, regrets, memories, all the things city noise had drowned. By the time he reached the village, Ren felt stripped bare. The village itself was small, a scattering of wooden homes tucked between tall cedar trees. Smoke drifted lazily from chimneys. The air smelled of pine, cold earth, and distant rain. Villagers watched him with the quiet curiosity of people who have seen the world leave them behind but never returned to ask questions. Ren approached an elderly woman carrying firewood. "Excuse me," he said. "I'm looking for a man named Ishiro, a swordsman." The woman paused, studying him the way one studies a stone to understand where it came from. "You've brought too much noise with you," she replied softly, then pointed toward a narrow trail disappearing into the forest. "You will find him where the silence grows thick." Ren followed the trail, step by step, breath by breath, noise dissolving into something deeper. Eventually, the forest opened into a clearing. There, standing beside a small wooden dojo, was the man he had come to find, Master Ishiro. He was not what Ren expected, not large or intimidating, not radiating power. He was still, entirely still, not a wrinkle of unnecessary motion. His presence felt like an ancient stone, unmoving, undeniable, and carved by centuries of wind. Ishiro turned only his eyes toward Ren, eyes sharp enough to slice through excuses, fears, and unspoken intentions. "You climbed far." His voice was calm but carried the weight of someone who measured people by their silence, not their words. Ren bowed awkwardly. "I came to learn. My mind, it's too loud. I can't control it anymore." Ishiro studied him, expression unreadable. "You seek quiet," he said. yet you have brought the storm with you." Ren swallowed, unsure whether he had come to the right place. Without another word, Ishiro pointed toward the steps of the dojo. "Sit." Ren obeyed. "Now listen," Ishiro said. "Not with your ears, with your mind." At first, Ren heard nothing. Then gradually, he heard everything. The wind threading through the branches, the faint crackle of the wooden walls settling, the heartbeat in his own chest, too fast, too tight. Ishiro watched him struggle. "Silence is not peace," the master said. "It is a mirror, and the first thing you will see is yourself." Ren felt exposed, as though the quiet was peeling away layers of his identity. The frantic multitasker, the performer, the man chasing validation. Without the noise, he saw the fear beneath it all. Ishiro nodded, as if reading the realization in Ren's face. "You want to conquer the modern mind?" His voice was low, steady. "Then confront the part of you that fears being still." Ren breathed deeply, but his breath trembled. Ishiro turned toward the forest. "Tomorrow your training begins. For now." He closed his eyes. "Let the silence teach you." Ren sat there long after Ishiro walked away. The mountain air grew colder. The shadows lengthened, but for the first time in a long time, Ren stayed. He didn't run. He didn't distract himself. He sat directly in the center of his discomfort. And in that discomfort, something shifted. Chapter 3: Breaking the Ego's Illusion. Morning on the mountain arrived without hurry. Light seeped through the trees like a monk entering a sacred hall. Slow, deliberate without arrogance. Ren stepped outside the small hut Ishiro had given him. His body was rested, but his mind still carried the faint tremor of yesterday's silence. The mountain did not soothe him. It confronted him. Every breath revealed something he had avoided. Every quiet moment pressed him toward truths he had long buried. Today, Ishiro did not greet him with wisdom. He greeted him with a wooden bucket. "Fill it from the river," the master said. Ren blinked. He expected kata, philosophy, lessons in ancient mindfulness, but Ishiro simply handed him the bucket. Ren walked downhill toward the river, irritation simmering inside. "I came to learn mastery, not chores." But immediately he caught the thought, the reflexive complaint, the ego flaring. There it is, he realized. The first illusion. At the riverbank, the water ran clear over smooth stones. Ren dipped the bucket. As he lifted it, water spilled over the edges, too fast, too clumsy, too rushed. His grip tightened. His breathing grew uneven. Why can't I do something this simple right? A familiar voice in his mind whispered, "Because you're failing. You always fail." Ren froze. He knew that voice well. The ego did not shout. It whispered, quietly, persistently, poisonously. He filled the bucket again, this time slower. On the way back to the dojo, the weight of the water made his arms shake. Halfway up the slope, his grip slipped. The bucket fell, crashing into the earth, water exploding outward. Ren cursed under his breath, and for the first time the forest answered, not with judgment, but with stillness. When he returned to Ishiro empty-handed, the master simply asked, "What spilled first, the water or your spirit?" Ren looked down. "The water." But Ishiro shook his head. "No, your frustration spilled before anything else left the bucket." The words struck deeper than criticism. They revealed a truth Ren didn't want to face. Ishiro continued, "Your ego expects perfection. It fears failure because it thinks failure threatens your identity. This is illusion. Ego wants praise, results, speed. Presence wants only truth." Ren opened his mouth to defend himself, to justify the slip, the anger, the embarrassment, but Ishiro raised a hand. "You are trying to protect an image of yourself," the master said. "That image is your prison." He pointed to the mountains stretching endlessly around them. "A warrior does not train to become someone. A warrior trains to remove what is false." Ren felt his throat tighten. Ishiro handed him the bucket again. No anger, no self-judgment, no story, only breath, movement, and the task. Ren walked back to the river. This time he noticed everything. The shifting stones beneath his feet, the cool weight of the bucket's handle, the rhythm of his breath, the instinctive urge to rush. He resisted the urge. He moved slower, and the water stayed inside. When he placed the full bucket at Ishiro's feet, the master did not praise him, but he did nod, once a gesture so small it felt heavier than applause. "That is presence," he said, "the art of doing one thing completely." Ren exhaled, for the first time understanding that his greatest battle was not against failure, but against the voice that feared it. Chapter 4. The Warrior Who Watches Himself. Dawn arrived like a blade drawn slowly from its sheath, cold, bright, precise. Ren stood in the clearing as Ishiro circled him with the silent assessment of a hawk. The air was crisp, thin, and unforgiving. Even the wind seemed to move with intention here. Nothing wasted, nothing rushed. The previous days had stripped Ren naked from the inside out. He had seen his fear. He had faced his frustration. He had heard the ego's cravings, its desperate need to be enough. Now Ishiro would teach him the discipline that transforms awareness into mastery. "Today," Ishiro said, "you learn Zanshin." Ren straightened. He knew the word. He had read the definition, but he understood none of it, not yet. Ishiro placed a bamboo sword in Ren's hands. "Zanshin is not the moment before action," he said. "It is the mind that remains after action, awareness that does not break." Ren nodded, trying to appear ready. Ishiro saw through it instantly. "You still try to perform," the master said. "Zanshin begins when performance ends." He instructed Ren to raise the bamboo sword. "Strike the tree in front of you. One clean motion, nothing more." Ren inhaled, stepped forward, and swung. The strike landed poorly. His grip slipped. His shoulders tightened at the moment of impact. The sword wavered as if unsure what it was meant to become. Ishiro pointed at Ren's body. "Where was your mind?" Ren hesitated. "On striking well. And after the strike?" "I don't know." Ishiro nodded. "That is the problem. Your awareness ends where your action begins." He stepped beside Ren. "A true warrior is not the one who strikes the blow, but the one who remains aware after the blow lands." Ren exhaled. The lesson unsettled him. Ishiro guided him into position again. "Watch your breath. Watch your grip. Watch the moment after you move. Observe yourself as if you were a stranger." Ren lifted the blade. "Strike." This time Ren struck slower, more deliberate. He noticed the slight tremble in his wrist, the tension hiding in his jaw, the surge of adrenaline that spiked right after contact. He watched himself. He witnessed the reactions he normally drowned beneath impulse. Ishiro nodded. "Better, again." Ren repeated the strike, 10 times, 20 times, 50 times. With each repetition, he observed more. Micro flinches, stray thoughts, the brief flicker of pride when he struck well, the sting of self-judgment when he did not. It looked like watching the mind in a mirror for the first time. Halfway through, Ishiro stopped him. "You are learning to separate the observer and the actor," he said. "This is Zanshin flow, awareness that wraps around action like a second skin." Ren's breath grew heavy but not frantic. For the first time in his life, he felt present during struggle, not escaping it, not analyzing it, simply experiencing it. Ishiro placed his hand on the bamboo sword. "One day, fear will rise again," he said. "Anger will rise. Doubt will rise. When they do not fight them. Watch them. A watched emotion loses its power." Ren lowered his gaze, the truth settling into him like a stone dropped into still water. Ishiro continued, voice steady as the mountain wind. "When you can watch your fear rise and fall without moving with it, you become untouchable." Ren felt a shiver run through him, not of cold but recognition. This was the training he sought, the discipline behind ancient warriors and modern masters alike, the system that allowed a human to remain centered, even as life tried to pull them apart. Ishiro stepped back. Again. Ren raised the blade, but something was different now. He wasn't trying to strike well. He wasn't trying to impress. He wasn't trying to silence thoughts. He was watching himself, and in that watching, he felt the faint beginning of freedom. Chapter 5. Return as the Quiet Blade. Ren left the mountain before sunrise, descending the same winding path that had once overwhelmed him. But now the road felt different, not because the world had changed, but because he had. The forest no longer pressed in on him, the silence no longer threatened him, and the thoughts that once sprinted uncontrollably now moved like slow clouds crossing an open sky. Visible, harmless, passing. In the city below, morning erupted in its usual chaos. Cars snarled in traffic. Screens flickered like restless spirits. People rushed with hollow urgency, eyes glazed by exhaustion. The same world Ren had fled, yet he felt no desire to flee now. He walked through crowded streets like a still stone at the bottom of a river, everything flowing around him, nothing disturbing the center. His breath was steady, his gaze soft but alert, his awareness untouched. This was Zanshin in motion, the remaining mind, the unbroken presence. Ren returned to his small apartment, a place that once felt like a mental prison. But as he stepped inside, the air felt calm, spacious, and welcoming, not because it was different, but because he entered it differently. He placed his bag down gently. He stood still for a moment, listening. Even the hum of the refrigerator, the distant noise from outside, the faint ringing in his own ears, all of it blended into a single tapestry of sound. Nothing was overwhelming, nothing was threatening, everything simply was. Ren closed his eyes and took a slow breath. In his chest, he felt the mountain's quiet strength, the weightless discipline built from watching himself without judgment. He noticed an incoming email notification flashing on his phone. Before, this would have ignited anxiety, a tightening in the chest, a flood of fearful thoughts. But now, Ren simply breathed. He observed the initial flicker of tension, the brain's conditioned response, like a storm whisper rising. Instead of reacting, he watched it. The tension dissolved by itself, like mist touched by sunlight. He opened the email, read it, responded, closed the phone. No panic, no rush, no noise. This was the warrior's return, not conquering the world, but moving through it with unshakable clarity. Later that day, Ren met an old colleague for coffee. The cafe buzzed with conversations, machines hissing steam, chairs scraping. But Ren sat calmly, fully present. "You seem Different, the colleague said, studying him. You okay? Ren smiled, not a forced smile, not a mask, but a calm acknowledgement of truth. I'm here, he said simply, not in the past, not in imagined futures. Here. His colleague laughed awkwardly, not understanding. But Ren didn't need him to. Presence is not something to explain. It's something to embody. Throughout the day, Ren noticed countless moments where his old mind would have fractured. The delayed train, the unexpected expense, the crowded street. But each time he felt the training rise within him. Observe, don't react, breathe, don't collapse, remain, don't run. He watched his fears rise and fall, watched his ego attempt to grasp for praise or validation, watched the mind try to sprint and gently guided it back. By nightfall, Ren stood at his apartment window gazing at the city lights. They flickered like stars caught in turbulence. But within him there was no turbulence left. He lifted a single hand and exhaled slowly. He had not returned as the same man. He had returned as the quiet blade, a warrior who carries the mountain within him.